All right, hey guys. So this is section 1.1, understanding points, lines, planes, and angles. Welcome to your very first geometry video. A lot of these things are going to be review of what we have already kind of talked about in class, so I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. If you have questions, please make sure you write them down as you're watching the video, and we can talk about them in class. All right. A point names a location. It has no size, and it's represented by a dot. Okay, so we've done a lot of, here's this random point, and there's point A. Okay, oops, that should be in the diagram portion, Miss J. So we're just going to cross those over there. I can do another one where it's just point B. Okay, and to name it, we know that it needs to be a capital letter. If you want, you can put the word point in front, but you don't have to. It just has to definitely be a capital letter. All right. A line is a straight path. It has no start or stop. And it extends forever in two directions. All right, so a picture of a line could be something like this. All right, it's made up of points, so I can put just a couple of points on here. And I'm going to do X, Y, Z. When we name it, we have to pick two letters, and they have to be capital letters because they're points. All right, and it has to have the line with both arrows above it. So we could name this line XY. We could name it XZ. Or we could name it a bunch of other things as well. All right. Then a plane is a flat surface. It has no size or shape. And it extends forever. All right, so a plane, most of the time, we kind of draw it as this almost parallelogram shape. Okay, and we could put a cursive letter in the bottom corner and call it plane L. Or we can pick points in the plane, so A, B, C, and D, and we can call it something like plane BDC. Or we could call it plane ADB. Okay, as long as you pick 3 points that are actually in the plane and put the word plane in front of it. And notice there are no commas. That's a big part of naming planes. There are no commas. Think about when you write your name, okay? If I write Miss Joswiak, I don't actually put commas between all the letters of my name, right? J, comma, O, comma, Z, comma. I don't do that. So no commas when you name a plane. Okay? Segment or a line segment is part of a line consisting of endpoints and all the points between them. It should be 2 endpoints. There we go. So, to name it, we again need 2 capital letters. And we need a bar above it. So, for example, I can name this segment ST. So I would have a bar with the letters ST. I could also call it TS. Okay, the order doesn't matter on a segment. An endpoint is a point at one end of a segment. And it's also the starting point of a ray. So we talked about that a lot in class on Monday. All right, we were like, end point, starting point, what? So it can be either one. To name it, it's just a letter. It's a capital letter. because we're just naming a point. All right, so we can have something like xy, or we could have a ray, st. So in this case, our endpoints would be x and y, and in this ray, our endpoint would be s. A ray is part of a line, but notice that it's part of a line, okay? It starts at an endpoint and extends forever in one direction. Okay, so remember we talked about how rays don't have to always point to the right. So I'm going to draw that one going to the left on purpose. We're going to have a Q there and an R there. So to name this one, we have to start at the endpoint. So start at the endpoint, and we need 2 capital letters. So for this one, my endpoint is R, and it goes towards Q. So the name of this ray would be ray RQ. And to show it's a ray, we actually put a line with 1 arrow above it. Okay, so this should all be a review still. All right, now we've got an angle. So an angle is formed by 2 rays, and those rays are called the sides of the angle. All right, and it's formed by 2 rays with a common endpoint. That common endpoint is called the vertex. All right, so let's think about what this looks like. I want 2 rays that have a common endpoint. So, for example, if I draw ray, and let's do CD right now. All right, then I want another ray that has the same endpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and call this ray CE. Okay, and that right there is an angle. I've got a ray right there, CD, and I've got a ray right there called CE, and they share this endpoint of C. So now I've made an angle. All right, now our angles can be named by its vertex. So in this case, we could say angle C. It can be named by a point on each side and the vertex. So for example, I can pick a point on the side, D, and then go to the vertex, C, and go to the other side, E. So I could say angle DCE. Or I can start on the other side and go the other direction. I can say angle ECD. Or the other thing that we can do is we can name it with a number. So when we look at this picture here, I can just put a number 1 inside of there, and I can say, oh, this is angle 1. And then if I don't want to mess with all the letters, I don't have to, okay? The symbol, I've drawn it a couple of times already, but the symbol here is just this little angle symbol. This next part is really, really important. You cannot name an angle just by its vertex if the point is the vertex of more than one angle. All right, so that's a little confusing, but I do want you guys, if you've got a highlighter or something, put a box around that or star it or something. This is a really important piece of information. So if your vertex has more than one angle stemming from it, you cannot use the vertex to name it. So, for example, let's say I have a ray here, a ray here, and a ray here. So let's just do X, Y, W, and Z. So you cannot name this angle Y because there's too much going on at this vertex here. I don't know if you mean this angle Y, or this angle Y, or the big angle Y. All right, so you are not allowed to do that. So please make sure you have this in your notes. That's extremely important. Moving on. Opposite rays are two rays that have a common endpoint and form a line. Okay, so let me move it down so you can see. I'm sorry about that. So two rays that have a common endpoint and form a line. So for example, if I take a ray and I point it this way, and I can call that ray CD. Okay, opposite ray means that I'm still going to start at C, but now I'm going to point in the other direction. Whoops, there we go. And I can call that E, ray CE. It's not quite straight, sorry about that. But they make a straight line, okay? I can do the same thing going a different direction. I can have this ray going right here, and I can say that's ray WX. And then going the exact opposite direction, I can have ray WY. Okay, so we can say WX and WY are opposite rays. When we look at that picture, we wouldn't necessarily call them opposite rays right off the bat. We'd probably just call it a line, and that's okay. It just means that built into that line, we have a pair of opposite rays. Okay? Now we've got collinear points. So collinear are points that lie on the same line. If you look at that word, it's got the word line inside of it. Okay, it's also got this prefix of co. So co means together. So when you see collinear, you should think together on the same line. Okay, then coplanar. So very similarly, co again means together. But now there's that word plane inside. And it's missing the E, but I think you guys get it. Coplanar are points that lie in the same plane. Super quick, we're going to introduce this word postulate. All right, so a postulate or an axiom is a statement that is accepted as true without proof. So we use postulates and axioms a lot in geometry, which is why I want you guys to understand what it means. Okay? So we have a couple of postulates that we're going to talk through super fast right here, and then you guys are done. All right? So this first postulate, through any 2 points, there is exactly one line. Through any 3 non-collinear points, there is exactly one plane containing them. If 2 points lie on a plane, then the line containing those points lies in the plane also. If 2 lines intersect, then they intersect in exactly 1 point. And if 2 planes intersect, they intersect in exactly 1 line. Okay, I know I'm not explaining any of those, but I actually want you guys as a class to kind of discuss them and come up with some pictures. So for now, that's all we're going to worry about. When I see you guys tomorrow in class, I will answer any questions you have, and we're going to do some practice with the different naming and some other things, and we're going to talk about these different intersections, okay? I will see you guys later. Bye!